Okay, everybody, Shabbat Shalom. In March of 1965, Martin Luther King led a march of some 3,000 people from Selma, Alabama, to demand voting rights for African Americans. By the time they arrived in Montgomery, the state capital, there were 25,000 people. Among them, walking next to Dr. King, was a rabbi, Dr. Abraham Joshua Heschel. These two spiritual luminaries shared a close bond in the struggle for justice. Now, I believe that as much as Dr. Heschel was walking with Dr. King was also walking with Dr. Heschel. And this is what I mean by that. We know from many statements from Dr. King that he was appalled by anti-Semitism in his lifetime, and he said so repeatedly. It is noteworthy that, as an honored guest at the Rabbinical Assembly Convention in 1968, just 10 days before he was assassinated, Dr. King advocated for peace in the Middle East, and he called Israel, quote, one of the great outposts of democracy. And I believe that were Dr. King alive today, he would have grieved. He would have grieved for the Jewish souls murdered in Pittsburgh, for the violence in Jersey City, in Poway, California, in Muncie, New York, in Mumbai, and elsewhere. He would have railed against the white supremacists in Charlottesville who in 2017 marched with guns and torches and shouted, "Jews will not replace us." Anti-Semitism has risen dramatically in the United States in the last few years. In 2019, the FBI reported close to 1,000 hate crimes against Jews, almost 2/3 of all such crimes based on religion. In addition to that, the Anti-Defamation League said the FBI numbers are almost certainly a significant undercount because many municipalities do not submit such information to authorities. And according to a recent far-reaching survey, 43% of Jews between the ages of 18 and 29 have experienced anti-Semitism on a college campus over the last 5 years. There is so much that we should do to fight back against this horrific trend. At MJC, we have enhanced our security in visible and in less visible ways. And also, we should keep in mind that words matter. When we hear stereotypes about Jews, whether in public discourse or in casual conversation, we must speak out appropriately. And I think that Drs. Heschel and King offer another powerful response. I think they understood that perhaps the most effective way to defeat hatred is for like-minded people of faith to band together. These two men, of very different backgrounds, walked in unity against violence and prejudice, and so must we. At MJC, we are trying to reach out. We are coordinating this year's virtual Marlborough Township Interfaith Thanksgiving service this Tuesday night. We also have a relationship with a church in Asbury Park, where most of the parishioners are Black. After the Tree of Life massacre, the pastor invited me and members of our community to a solidarity event at his church, and I was honored to speak from his pulpit. And that night I was moved to tears because I was so shaken after what happened in Pittsburgh. But that night I realized that we are not alone. Rabbi Harold Schulweis of blessed memory conservative rabbi of Valley Beth Shalom in the Valley in California. He wrote, "King and Heschel speak to our community in the diction of the ancient prophets. They dare remind us that while some are guilty, all are responsible. That moral responsibility transcends class, creed, and race. Heschel and King taught us that the opposite of good is not evil, but rather indifference, and that silence in the presence of evil amounts to consent. They charged us to transcend the cleavages that distract us from the solidarity of our goal, and to publicly stand together against the twin evils of racism and antisemitism." In a recent survey, 82% of Jewish respondents agree that antisemitism has risen in this country, more than 8 out of 10 respondents. However, the same question was asked of Americans at large. Only 43% of Americans think that antisemitism is on the rise. And so we need to reach out. We need to share our concerns with our neighbors. But we also need to listen to those of other faiths impacted by violence. We need to ask ourselves honestly, are we as sensitive to the pain of those of other faiths and ethnicities as we want them to be when we describe our fear and anxiety that we sometimes feel because of the rise of anti-Semitism? We must ask ourselves this question honestly and then engage in dialogue, truly listen with an open heart. This month, I attended a virtual conference that was co-sponsored by the United Synagogue of Conservative Judaism on how to forge stronger bonds, not only within our own synagogue, but also with people of faith in the African American community. I look forward to sharing with you what I learned. Thanksgiving is a holiday to emphasize gratitude. I personally am grateful to live in America, a nation that is still a beacon of hope for everyone, if we all work to maintain this ideal. And I think this is a major challenge. But about challenges, our tradition teaches, you do not have to complete the task, but you are also not free to desist from it. I think we have a long way to go toward the goals of equality, of tolerance, and mutual respect. May God support us with the fortitude to achieve our potential. Thank you. Amen. Shabbat Shalom.